What's up, YouTube? This is me, David Sarche, representing Christ-centered mental health, coming to you real quick. Well, it's not gonna be quick. This is gonna be a pretty lengthy video, so please stick it through the whole time, because trust me, this is gonna be a good video. You're not gonna want to miss anything. I'm gonna start doing this video series either once a month or once a week. It's gonna be where I review a movie on mental illness. And as you can tell, the first movie I chose is A Beautiful Mind. Um, after this, I'm gonna do Words on Bathroom Walls, and then after that one, I'm going to take requests from you guys. So if there's any movie after this, if there's any movies on mental illness that you want me to watch, and give my review on, then please post the video in the comment section below. Let me know what you guys want me to review. But remember, it has to be a movie on mental illness. If it's not, then I'm not gonna review it, because I, this is a series specifically for movies with mental illness or about mental illness. Um, but yeah, I'm still debating on whether I want to make this series about, or if I want to make this a monthly series or if I want to make this a weekly series. But I'm gonna be doing this consistently, like as long as you guys like it, that is. But yeah. So let me get started on this video. Like I said, it's gonna be pretty lengthy. Please stick it through all the way to the end. I promise you're gonna like this video. All right. The first thing I want to talk about is, okay, some of you may know this already, some of you may not know, but A Beautiful Mind is my absolute favorite movie of all time. Like, I consider A Beautiful Mind to be the best movie that has ever been created. like, um, that's no joke. You can my wife will even attest to the fact that I love that movie. I love the movie so much. I have pretty much like 90% of the movie memorized. I could quote like 90% of the movie, and that's no joke. Like, whenever me and my wife watch it together, a lot of the lines that John Nash says or his hallucinations say, I'm quoting that line like probably like 2 minutes before they even say the line. But yeah, I really like this movie, and one of the reasons why I really like the movie is because I could relate so much to both John Nash and Alicia Nash. I can relate to John Nash in the sense that because I have mental illness, I can identify with what he went through. And I can relate to Alicia Nash because as someone who had a loved one, my mom, who had mental illness, I can relate to what Alicia went through as well. It was like a multi-dimensional, um, like thing for me. Like I was able to relate to both the main characters at the same time. Like it was weird, but it's true. And actually, I want to start off. The first thing I want to talk about is how I could individually relate to both John Nash and Alicia Nash in the movie. The first thing I'm gonna start off. I'm gonna talk about some like the ways that I could relate to John Nash. All right. One of the ways that I was able to relate to John Nash was, um, he didn't really trust people very much. Uh, Honestly, when I was growing up, I wasn't able to really trust people very much, and to this very day, I still struggle to trust people. I've gotten better over the years, but yeah, I couldn't trust people, and it was irrational because no one really did anything to me to cause me to not trust them. But because of my mental illness, I had this like this idea in me that I couldn't trust people, so I didn't trust people. Um, I always desired to be recognized for something great or original. And yes, just like John Nash in the movie, how he wanted to be recognized for something great that he did, or he wanted to be original. He didn't want to just um, he didn't want to just study works from people who gone before him. He wanted to come up with his own original idea. I kind of was like the same way. I wanted to be recognized for something I did that was great or something that I did that was original. And to this very day, I still kind of struggle with that. Um, But I remember growing up, I actually there was a time in my life where one of the things I wanted to be known for. This was before I was a Christian, obviously, but one of the things I wanted to be known for was I picked up a world religions book, and I was going to study these world religions in depth because I wanted to be able to, I was convinced in my mind that I was going to find the link that linked all the different world religions together, and I was going to be the very one to prove that all the religions in the world were actually essentially the same. Now, obviously, I failed at that, but like, thank God, and like, obviously, Christ had other plans for me, but um, yeah, I set out this to do this task of trying to prove that all the religions were the same. I was convinced in my mind that I was gonna be the one to prove that, and I was gonna go down in history as the greatest thinker known to man. Like, and I was convinced people were gonna celebrate me for it. And I would study that world religions book adamantly. Like I was every day I would wake up in the morning, I'd study that book. I was obsessed with it. I was like, I'm gonna be the one to do this. But yeah, another thing, I was an excessive smoker. Now in the movie, they didn't really show John Nash really smoking that much, but I was an excessive smoker. I was out like before I got sick and got put in the hospital. I was smoking probably like a pack and a half a day. Like I was chain smoking, and like that's part of the reason why. I mean, some of you may have noticed I'm missing teeth. It's because of me smoking. And yes, before you argue with me and say smoking, look it up. Menthol cigarettes does cause tooth decay, and yeah, so my menthol cigarettes is what made me like that's why I'm losing my teeth to this day. Thankfully, after my hospital experience, I haven't had a cigarette since. Well, I had one cigarette since I've been out of the hospital, but other than that, I haven't had any cigarettes, and thank God for that. Like I'm no longer a smoker. I don't even get cravings for cigarettes anymore. But yeah, I was an excessive smoker, and that is common for people with mental illness. Um, Also, growing up, even though I did have friends, I mean, in the movie, John Nash didn't really have friends. He was completely alone. But, well, he had some friends. And, like, he had some friends, and same thing with me. Even though I had some friends growing up, I was a loner. Like, I didn't really go out of my way to hang out with very many people. Like, even though my friends would try and get me to come hang out with them, I I prefer to stay to myself, and I was alone a lot of times, and like people don't understand why I prefer to be alone so much. They just thought maybe I was just antisocial or something. But no, like, and it's common for people with mental illness to isolate, especially people with schizoaffective, schizophrenia, or schizotypal disorder. But yeah, also, I had rapid thoughts, just like in the movie. John Nash had rapid thoughts, and like, yeah. So, I thought I was better than everyone. Yes, when I was like, to this day, I still struggle with this. I have an inflated ego, and it's probably most likely because of my mental illness. Like I tend to think that I'm better than other people, but when I was younger, it was really bad. I really thought I thought my shit didn't stink. Excuse my language. Like I was like I thought I was like the king of the world. Like I had such an inflated ego. Um, and that's part of the reason why I didn't want to associate with very many people, because I thought I was too good to associate with anybody and everyone. And to this day, I still struggle with that. Um, Another thing, I, when I was diagnosed with mental illness, like I did frequently stop taking my medications. When I thought I was better and I didn't need them anymore, I would stop taking the medication, and that's when I was spiral out of control and end up back in the psych ward. And it's common for people with mental illness to frequently stop taking their medication. And that's what I did. Um, I had awkward behaviors, just like John Nash had awkward behaviors in the movie. Like it's common for people with schizophrenia, schizoaffective, and schizotypal disorder to have awkward behaviors. That's I mean I exhibit a lot of really strange awkward behaviors. Even to this day, I exhibit strange and awkward behaviors. I mean my wife can attest to that. Like that I exhibit strange and awkward behaviors at times. Um, I have extreme mood swings, just like John Nash in the movie did. I mean, one minute you saw in the movie that John Nash would like be all his emotions would be all over the place, and like in the same way, my emotions are all over the place to this very day. Like I could go from being really excited to like being really angry or depressed to back being really excited. I mean, I can get like really manic and then drop down to depression in like an hour. Like my emotions are sometimes. I mean, like I said, most days I'm all right because of my medication, but there are still times where I have my bad days. I remember growing up, there was times where I was awkward around women. Now, the difference between me and John Nash in the movie was, growing up, I had a lot of friends that were females, and to this day, I mean, like, well, not really anymore to this day, but like, um, I mean, I still some of my closest friends are females to this day. Like I do have like a natural tendency to um I do have a natural tendency to trust women more than I trust men. So I do have a like when I'm talking to a female I can talk to her easier than I can talk to a man. But at the same time, growing up, I exhibited some really strange and awkward behaviors around women. Like, and I sometimes I'm glad I'm married now, so I don't have to worry about it anymore. But like, even before I got married, I still like exhibit some strange and awkward behaviors around women. And that's why I mean John Nash in the movie did exhibit that. That is pretty common with people with mental illness. And also, um, another thing that I could relate to John Nash in the movie about was impulsive and risky behavior. Like I do exhibit when I'm unstable, I do exhibit impulsive and risky behavior. Like I'm not gonna really go into detail about what those impulsive and risky. But one of them is I tend to overspend when I'm unstable. One of the signs that I'm getting unstable is that I'll overspend my money and I'll end up going broke because I'll just continuously spend my money. But yeah. Oh, by the way, I do want to know. I forgot to mention this earlier that this video is a review on the movie, but I'm going to throw in some elements from the A Beautiful Mind book because I read the book before and I still remember a lot of it. It's been a while since I read the book. I like the book too, so I'm going to throw in some stuff that I know from the book as well. All right, now time to talk about what I related to Alicia. First off, this list isn't going to be as extensive, but there's some major things that I was able to identify with Alicia about. Like, especially when it was concerning my mom. One of the first thing I was able to identify with Alicia Nash about was her anger towards God. Like, I mean, there was a time in the movie where she did say she felt angry towards God. And when I heard about my mom's mental illness, like, I mean, I knew before I found out she was mentally ill, I knew that she did some stuff that was unexplainable, and I didn't understand because I was just a kid. But when I was told that she had mental illness, my initial reaction was like, I mean, at first I felt shamed. I felt shame for my mother, but then I was like, that shame quickly turned in anger towards God, and yeah, then I got angry towards my mom because I felt like it was her fault that she was like this, and I got angry towards her. And then, um, I did. There was times where I felt obligated, like I was taking, like there was times when I was taking care of her that I felt like I was doing it because I was obligated to take care of her, and I was doing it out of obligation. And then also, I I had to learn to like force myself to love her, and it was really difficult. I had to get over my anger towards her. I had to get over feeling shame towards her, and eventually, I had to literally force myself to see her as the mother that I wanted to see her as, and I had to force myself to love her, and it was difficult, and and there was some days where it was easier than others, like when she was stable, but then there was days where it was harder than others when she was unstable. But yeah, um, also when I first heard that my mom was mentally ill, I denied that she was mentally ill, just like Alicia Nash did when she first heard that John Nash was mentally ill. Like I didn't want to accept the fact that my mom was mentally ill. I really didn't. Um, yeah, like me and my mom, when I was a young kid, my mom was literally my best friend, and I didn't want to accept the fact that she was mentally ill and she was unstable, so I just denied it. But yeah, yeah. Huh, I gotta drink some more water. Now I'm gonna go into some things that were realistic and unrealistic about the movie. Now I'm gonna start with the list that I put down that was realistic about the movie. The first thing that I put down that was realistic about the movie was he exhibited bizarre behaviors, and that was true. In the movie. He does exhibit a lot of really bizarre behaviors. Um, Yeah, and it's common for people with schizophrenia, schizoaffective, and schizotypal disorders, or just any various mental illnesses. It's common for us to exhibit bizarre and strange behaviors. Um, he was a loner. He had an inflated ego. This was all realistic. He had paranoid thoughts. That was realistic. Oh, by the way, I struggle with that too. Like I get paranoid thoughts even to this very day. But yeah, another thing that was realistic, he exi- in the book when I read. Okay, this is one of the things I got this information from the book. The book is more accurate than the movie, by the way. I suggest if you haven't read the book, I suggest you read the book. It's very eye opening. But in the book, it talks about how John Nash exhibited sexual promiscuity. He even had an affair on his wife and had a child out of wedlock. And he also exhibited homosexual behavior. And this is actually pretty common with people with mental illnesses to exhibit homosexual behavior, exhibit sexual promiscuity, and stuff like that. It is pretty common for people with mental illness to exhibit these things. Like so, um, yeah. So that was in the book, and that's actually pretty realistic. Um, Another thing, um, oh well, yeah, I just mentioned that sexual promiscuity. He exhibited risky behaviors in the movie and in the book, and one of those risky behaviors was sexual promiscuity and homosexual acts. But in the movie, he exhibited risky behaviors in the sense that he was impulsive. He would do things like there was a part in the movie where he thought he was he was a code breaker for the government, and he would like go to this abandoned house in the middle of the night to drop um envelopes off in an empty mailbox. And I say that's risky behavior because, like, I mean, it was in the middle of the night. He was going to a place that was like there was like it was like pretty much like really dark, and there was like, I mean, it didn't look. It just looked really shady. Like he was going to this place late at night, and like it just seemed really unsafe. So I mean, that was a risky behavior. Um, High intellect. People with mental illness do tend to have a high intellect, and they do tend to have great creativity skills. Like higher than the average person. And they did show that in the movie that John Nash was highly intelligent. And that actually feeds into the idea that I mean that actually can also feed into a mentally ill person's ego and make them think that they're better than other people or more original than other people. But yeah, rapid thoughts. He experienced rapid thoughts in the movie, and that was realistic. He stopped taking his meds because he didn't really see that there was anything wrong with him in the beginning, so he did take his medication and he would go out of control. That was realistic. He was neglectful of children due to hallucinations and delusions. Okay, this is a really good one. There's a really intense part of the movie. And by the way, like yeah, I should have told you in the beginning of the movie or in the beginning of the video that there was gonna be spoilers. If you haven't seen this movie by now, then I don't know where you've been because um I mean, this movie's been out for a long time. I mean, I saw this movie back when I was 13, and I'm 33 now. So that tells you how long this movie's been around. So if you haven't seen this movie by now, then I don't know where you've been. But yeah, I do. If you haven't seen this movie, then I apologize for the spoiler. But I do gotta talk about this part, and um, yeah, like I do suggest you watch this movie if you haven't seen it. But yeah, he was neglectful of his child due to hallucinations and delusions. There's a part in the movie where John Nash takes the baby, his and Alicia's baby, up to the bathroom and puts the baby in the bathtub. And Alicia goes outside and hang clothes up on the laundry line, and it starts to rain, and Alicia goes and she like this was after John Nash stopped taking his medication. And Alicia goes to she hears this like radio static coming from the shed, and she goes to the shed and she opens it up and she sees all these newspaper clippings hanging all over the walls of the shed. Yeah, I think it was a shed. Yeah. And she freaks out because she realizes that John Nash is unstable and that she left him alone with their baby. So she rushes upstairs and she finds the baby laying in the bathtub, and the bathtub is rapidly filling up with water, and the baby almost drowned. This was a really intense part of the movie, and when I first saw the movie, I like was every time I see the movie, this part always gets to me. But it was a really intense part of the movie, and like John Nash obviously was having delusions, and he said that Charles, his best friend, who's a hallucination, was watching the baby, and she said, "There's no one here. There's no one here." But yeah, that's all I'm gonna say about that part. But yeah, like it is common for people with schizophrenia or schizoaffective disorder or schizotypal disorder to neglect their children due to their mental illness, due to them having a hallucination or a delusion, which makes sense because I mean, if we're like having a hallucination that we're supposed to I don't know. I can't think of anything specifically right now. But if we're in a deep hallucination or delusion, we're not really thinking about our children, and we do tend to be neglectful. But yeah, John Nash was oblivious to people's mockery and um, and their stares. Like whenever he would have like a psychotic break in the movie where he would be freaking out, people would be staring at him. He wasn't really oblivious. He wasn't really aware in the moment that people were staring. He knew afterwards that people were staring at him. But in the moment when it was going on, he wasn't really aware that people were staring at him. He wasn't aware that people were mocking him. Like there was a part in the movie where John Nash um was walking. I think he was a professor at Princeton at this time, and he was walking somewhere on the campus, and like one of the students was started walking behind him, mocking the way he was walking, and like then John Nash, after a while, John Nash turned around, and looked at him, and the kid stopped, and everybody started laughing, and just kept walking. It was a real that part was a really tough. Was like I've experienced this where people would mock me, and it was humiliating, and like it was definitely it was definitely like great to see that on the screen, but yeah, a lot of times we don't notice when people are mocking us or staring at us. Like when we're in a psychotic break, we don't really notice it. Um, we're oblivious. But yeah, also he didn't really care about people, but he wasn't a sociopath. That's one thing I do gotta stress. People with mental illness, they may exhibit selfishness, they may exhibit that they don't care about very many people or they don't care about people at all, but that doesn't make them sociopaths. We're not sociopaths. We're not heartless people. It's just that it's really difficult for us to show that we care about people. Yeah. Now, time for some of the things I thought were unrealistic about the movie. The first thing was it was unrealistic the way they portrayed him, as he thought his one of his delusions was he was hold on. I gotta go back. I skipped something. Okay, one of the first thing that was unrealistic was they portrayed his hallucinations as him seeing people. In reality, it's actually very rare for people with schizophrenia or schizoaffective disorder to actually hallucinate people. Most of the time, we have hallucinations that are auditory, or we see like probably like animals that aren't there or something like that. It's very rare for us to actually see full blown people that aren't there. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, so don't get me twisted on that. It does happen, but it's very rare. So, yeah. Another thing, towards the end of the movie, like they portrayed him as he stopped taking his meds for good because he wanted to figure out a way to overcome his schizophrenia without medication because he didn't like how the medication made him um, not be able to think clearly, which, by the way, is actually realistic. Medications can make your thinking process more fuzzy. Once you find the right medication, like it should restore your thinking and reasoning skills. But like medication does have a tendency to make your thinking a lot fuzzy, makes it hard to concentrate and stuff like that. But yeah, it was unrealistic because John Nash, like, I mean, they portrayed him as stopping taking his medication, and then he eventually did figure out how to overcome his schizophrenia in a way that he just like ignored his hallucinations, and they showed that in the movie. That's not realistic. Someone who has schizophrenia or schizoaffective disorder or schizotypal disorder cannot ignore their hallucinations. Even people who have bipolar, who are manic, cannot ignore their hallucinations. You ignore your hallucinations and they just get worse. And as you get stressed out, they get worse too. That's another thing that's realistic about the movie is that they talk about how stress triggers the delusions and hallucinations. The more stressed you get, the more delusional and the more you hallucinate too. But um, it was unrealistic that he would ignore his hallucinations and they would just leave him alone. That wasn't realistic. Um, Another thing that was unrealistic was they portrayed one of his delusions as him being the best damn natural code breaker, as one of his hallucinations William Parcher said to him. But that was they portrayed him as being a natural code breaker working for the Pentagon as a spy. That was unrealistic. In reality, he was actually in reality, according to the book, his delusion was that he was receiving codes from aliens in space through the radio and stuff like that. Um, yeah. Also, his Nobel Prize speech it was incoherent. According to the book, his Nobel Prize speech was incoherent and nonsensical. And like in the movie, they portrayed his speech as being like really emotional and very impactful and like very coherent. And he gave this powerful speech about how he searched he searched for all kinds of like wisdom and stuff like that. And he ended up finding that the greatest wisdom came from the equation of love. And he was talking about his wife and how she stuck by his side and showed him true love. And it was a really touching scene. Not real. According to the book, John Nash got up there to give his speech, and his speech was very nonsensical and incoherent. But yeah, also they portray in the movie that him and Alicia stayed together. That Alicia was strong and she stuck by his side and showed him unconditional love, and that was one of the reasons why he overcame his schizophrenia. In reality, John Nash actually cheated on his wife numerous times. Actually, had a baby out of wedlock in one of his affairs, and then they got divorced, according to the book, because he abandoned Alicia. He actually bought a plane ticket, flew out to London or England, somewhere in England, and renounced his U.S. citizenship and became a citizen of England for a time being. And Alicia ended up divorcing him after that. And yeah, now time for some of the things that I liked and disliked about the movie. Alright, so one of the things that I liked about the movie was that I could relate to both the main characters. I was able to relate to both John Nash and Alicia Nash on two different levels, and I really like that. I like I like movies where I can relate to the characters, and I also like storylines that are complex and deep. So I was like, and the movie was complex and deep, and I did like that too. They portray mental illness in a realistic fashion. They didn't glorify it, nor did they shame people with mental illness, and I appreciated that as well. Uh, it kept me in suspense the whole time. When I first saw the movie, it kept me in suspense, and I couldn't take my eyes off the screen. I was fascinated by it. It was really good. Um, Also, they show the difficulty mentally ill people have relating with the opposite sex. And like I said, John Nash was very awkward around women, and part of it was because of his bluntness that he had. And people with mental illness do tend to be very blunt. And like he had a really hard time relating to women, and like people with mental illness do. We have a hard time relating to the opposite sex. Um, Also, the movie shows John marrying Alicia. I thought that was great that they showed that. Like, it is possible, and it just proves you that if you have mental illness and you have a desire to get married, it is possible for you to get married. Don't think that if you're mentally ill that you're going to spend the rest of your life single and alone, like I did at one time. I mean, I'm married now, and I never thought I would have got married because of my mental illness. So if you're struggling with mental illness and you're wondering if you're ever going to get married, don't lose hope. Like it is possible that you will get married. Like so don't give up. Um Also John Russell Crowe does a fantastic job playing John Nash. And he does it realistically. And Jennifer Connelly does a fantastic job playing Alicia Nash too. Um what else? Um, the movie shows that the power of true love can conquer anything. Like even though it showed Alicia divorce, and even though in the book it showed Alicia, it talked about how Alicia divorced her husband. Like I liked how in the movie they showed Alicia standing by her husband's side, and it showed that true love can conquer just any obstacle. I did like that message. Um, Now some things I disliked about the movie. They portrayed the Nobel speech as a heartwarming and powerfully impactful speech. Like I said, in reality, the speech was incoherent and nonsensical. So I didn't like how they were unrealistic about the speech in the movie. They portrayed his hallucinations as people. Again, that's not common. That's actually extremely rare for people with mental illness to hallucinate actual people. Um, they didn't show the sexual promiscuity. I wish they would have shown that John Nash was exhibiting sexual promiscuity and cheated on his wife a few times and had a child out of wedlock. I wish they would have shown that. They didn't show the divorce, instead portrayed a false relationship. I wish they would have shown the divorce because it would have shown that people because like I don't know, like them not showing it, like showed like they kind of showed an unrealistic relationship between him and John or him and Alicia. Like I wish the relationship would have been a little bit more real. They did eventually get remarried, according like, but that was way after the movie came out. So they should have showed them getting divorced. Um, they didn't show, or what was it? Oh yeah, they didn't show John's out of wedlock baby that he from his affair. I wish they would have shown that. Um, but yeah, those were the things that I liked and disliked about the movie. Now, like I said, the next movie that I'm gonna do a review on, I don't know if it's gonna be next week or if it's gonna be next month. I'm not sure. It just all depends on timing and how you guys like this video and stuff like that. But the next movie I want to do a review on is Words on Bathroom Walls. Yeah. And also, if there's any other movies on mental illness that you want me to review, let me know in the comment section below. Or if you're in my Facebook group, let me know in that group what movies you want me to review. I know my wife wants me to review the movie I Am Khan, which is a Bollywood movie about mental illness. So I do intend to check that out sometime. Um, but yeah, like yeah, speaking about my Facebook group, I do have a Facebook group. It's called Christ Centered Mental Health Discussion Group. It's for my subscribers to interact with each other, interact with me, and to suggest video ideas to me. If you want to be part of that group, please request to join the group. I'm going to post a link to the group in the description box below so you can check it out for yourself. And also, follow me on Twitter. I'm going to post that link in the description box. Follow me on Tumblr. I'm going to post that link too. And check out my blog site too. It's an apologetics blog site. Right now I'm doing a series where I'm critiquing Christopher Hitchens' book, God is Not Great, How Religion Poisons Everything. I'm critiquing that book chapter by chapter on my blog. And I'm going to post that in the description too. So yeah. Let me know what you guys think about this video. If you stuck it through this whole time, I appreciate it. I thank you for that. And yeah, let me know what some of your experiences were about mental illness. Let me know what you thought about this movie if you've seen it. If you haven't seen it, let me know that you're gonna see the movie because I highly strongly suggest that you watch this movie. It's really good. If I had to grade it, I would give it 5.5 stars, out of 5 stars. But yeah, it's probably the best movie ever. And I suggest you watch the movie. But yeah, let me know what you guys thought of the movie. All right, thank you very much. Have a good day. God bless you, and deuces.